Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Evosys webinar on retail. A couple of introductions to start. So my name is Andy Garner. I'm one of the client directors at Evasis, and I have over 15 years experience in enterprise applications. And then presenting with me today is Ritu, who is one of our senior supply chain consultants, who will be taking you through the solutions that we've implemented for some other retail customers and some of the work we've done recently. So sit back, grab a cup of coffee and enjoy the next 45 minutes or so, and there'll be plenty of time for questions and answers when we get through to the end of the presentation. So this is the rough agenda for today, covering what we're going to do. So we're going to show you some of the Oracle products and how that works specifically around retail, some of the extensions that Evosys have developed to support that. And we're going to talk about Grocers, which is one of our case studies based out of America, and what they've done in terms of retail and distribution. Everybody should have something out of the end that they want. Again, if you have any questions during the webinar, you can type them into the webinar window and we will answer them as we get to the end. By all means, if you want to ask a question yourself, click on the raise your hand button and we'll come to you when we get to the end of the webinar, and we can have a bit of interaction that way. Little bit about Evosys. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail with this, but I think it's sometimes useful for those who don't know us. So we are a large Oracle partner. We are a global business. We have over 1,500 consultants in various parts of the world. And we are quite visionary in terms of Oracle partners. So we have an innovation team. We do a lot of development with things like AI and bots in multiple specific areas. And we are recognised by Oracle globally as being one of their leading partners. I've put this Gartner Magic Quadrant up here because some people quite like to track the views of Gartner. And really what this shows is that we are kind of in the top end of the niche players, and Gartner's definition of niche players are really specialists. And because we only provide Oracle solutions, we're proud of our location in there, and our trajectory of travel over the recent years has been to continue up and to the right. And it's one of our stated aims as a business to continue that trajectory and make it into that, that leader quadrant. We're very, very close, as you can see from there. So we do have a range of services that complement what we do. And some of the customers we talk about today will have picked different bits of this kind of matrix. Obviously, we're going to talk about implementation. I'm going to talk about our implementation services today. We have a very unique offering now on managed and support services, including supported by VBA, which is a visual dashboard that we've developed in-house to make the most out of your Oracle investment. It highlights pinpoints in the system, and there are separate webinars running from Evosys to cover that. We do quite a lot of what are termed rescue projects, so where things have not gone according to plan. We have quite a nice set of tools that can benchmark an Oracle deployment and can then work with you to develop the next stages in terms of how to pull a project back onto the right time and timeline and the right time of budget. And as I said, we have an innovation team that do quite a lot of work with chatbots and do machine learning, artificial intelligence, and those type of things, which are a really good way to extend the reach of a system into those casual users. And that's particularly relevant in retail because you don't always have regular computer-based users. They're the people that occasionally might interact with the system or need it to do a specific job. And actually increasingly using things like Siri or other chatbots that people are familiar with is a really great way of increasing engagement with the system, improving data quality and reducing the need for complex and long training cycles. So it's a kind of healthy mix to complement the core offering, ultimately aimed at delivering a successful project on behalf of you as the customer. So every organization has a similar slide deck to this. Obviously, it's useful to see who you're with, what your company is, And there's some nice names on here from a UK perspective. Obviously, McColl's Retail Group are quite well known. Chivas Regal are quite well known. In America, we've got Grocers and we've got the own home store. But hopefully, you'll see some symbols or some company logos there from your region. I know we're covering a large amount of countries in this webinar today, but we're quite happy to share the success stories with some of these people and put you in touch with them if you want to have a conversation and you see someone in there that you think would match with what you do. So I'm going to hand over to Ritu, who's going to go through some of the component parts of this now. And then I'll be back again as we get a bit further down and we get into the Q&A. So as I said before, please put your questions in as you go along. If there's something that you think is really relevant to you and you want to pick it up at that point, please do so, and then we'll answer your questions when we get to that point. So I'm going to hand over now to my colleague, Ritu.
Thanks, Andrew. Good morning to all the attendees. I hope you all are safe and healthy. So in continuation to what Andrew just presented, I would now like to talk about some of the challenges that retail sector, specifically the grocery stores, might have faced during this pandemic. So in recent times, we have seen drastic fluctuation in demand of some product categories. A very simple example that we can take are like the sanitizing products of hand sanitizers or sanitizing wipes, or cleaning supplies like bleaches, or paper goods like toilet paper. So this is because these products have become essential during this time, and that's the reason why there is an increase in this demand of this product. Another category of products where there has been an increase is in the health and skincare category. Now that people have more time to take care of themselves while working from home. While on the other hand, products like beverages have, or maybe packed food material have seen a dip in demand, as these are not essential or non-essential products and can be postponed while purchasing. So in these times, it becomes absolutely crucial to correctly balance our supply and demand. So what we have done is here we have listed some of the first-hand business impacts that is currently impacting given the situation that we are in. So as previously cited as an example, sanitizing product is a product category wherein there has been an unplanned rise in demand, and because that's an essential, and it is directly also impacting the entire demand and supply planning that we currently have for those product categories. Whereas there is excess stocking of non-essentials, and balancing between these essentials and non-essentials is important right now, so that the customer demand for the essential products can be met and there is no delay on that front. Also, due to disruption in logistics, workforce reduction, and unavailability of suppliers and manufacturers, the essential products might fall short in stock or might arrive late due to fluctuating lead times. So these are just some of the points that we noted down as a first-hand business impact that this pandemic has caused. I can see there is a question. Okay, so the point is that my audio is too soft. Is it okay? I'll try to speak a little louder. Okay. So I was just highlighting some of the first-hand business impacts that has been there or has arisen as a part of the pandemic that we have seen. So like unplanned rise in demand of essentials and excess stocking of non-essentials, or due to disruption in logistics, workforce reduction, and unavailability of suppliers and manufacturers, the essential product might fall short in stock or might arrive late due to fluctuating lead times. So these are some of the points that we noted. Some ways of avoiding these situations, like running out of stock or material unavailability, due to lead time or demand adjustment can be dealt by following some measures, which I will be talking about in our next part of Oracle solutions. So here what we have done is we have pointed out some of the key areas where we think if we address, we will be able to deal with the scenario in a better way or plan our supply chain in a better way. So basically, some of the pointers which are helpful are important, which is something that we also use when we go ahead and work on a supply chain planning uh, project or with a supply chain planning customer. So catering to material shortages and order changes by using dynamic supply planning and avoid getting into situations where your customer demand is at risk. By diagnosing and analyzing the root causes to understand why this has happened. Is it because directly due to a lead time, or is it because we are, planning for more demand and we don't have the backing supply for it? So some of the ways how you can analyze what the root causes and what can be done about it. Similarly, by analyzing causal factors impacting your demand and monitor changes in the demand stream. So these are, yeah, so I think Paul has asked that if we can have this PowerPoint presentation. Sure, Paul. So this is something that we'll be sharing across. Yeah. Okay. So these are some of the pointers that we wrote as a part of our plan ahead, or the key pointers that can help us in figuring out a better way to move ahead in this time of pandemic. So now what I'll do is, before moving into the application, what I'll do is I'll first try to explain you the solution flow or how the solution or the application works in order to cater to these challenges and how the solution can be used in real life scenarios. So what we have in the next slide is basically a very simple solution flow to understand how exactly the application behaves and how it can help with this specific problem area that we're talking about. So Oracle Planning Solution works on various supply and demand data streams by collecting data from various subject areas or modules or applications like procurement or inventory, as it is seamlessly integrated with all these applications. Once it has all this data to read, it analyzes the data and provides recommendations accordingly, which can be then later on used to identify the possible risks with demand that has arisen and then diagnose the root causes for it. So why do we have certain demand which are at risk and what can be done to mitigate that? Once we have the diagnosis available, or when we are able to diagnose the root cause, this will help us mitigate the risk by adjusting and accepting the planning recommendation. Now, once the planner has accepted the recommendation, the application is very much capable of creating real-time transaction and also notifying the required team member. So when I say real-time transaction, it can be transactions like something that needs to be procured from an external supplier, or that is something that needs to be internally transferred. So anything which is there as part of recommendation to mitigate the possible risk or is an adjustment made by the planner can be and will be created into a real-time transaction. Also, the required people can be notified. So analyzing all the different data streams and creating real-time transactions and recommendations accordingly. This is the very baseline of the solution that Oracle Planning offers. Okay. So I think maybe we can see if we have any questions at this point. No, so please feel free to drop in your questions at any point while I'm going through the slide deck. So now what I'll do is I'll just go and try to show you some of these examples into the application itself. So I'll move into the application and then we can see how it looks like and how we can deal with these areas. So I'm basically in Oracle Planning Cloud. Okay, and over here we can create enterprise-wide demand and supply plan. Okay, and then we can plan at a more granular level, like for each store or for each region, or like for each product category or product. So currently I just have created 2 plans, and I'll just move into each one of those and try to explain you all the points that I just mentioned previously as a part of challenges or as a part of the solution. So I'll be now quickly opening one of the plan, and therein we would like to we would see if any of your product or product categories demand is at risk. So what I'll do, I'll just quickly open a plan. Okay, and I will open a built-in analytics, which is basically demand at risk. Okay, to see how many products or product categories are there which is currently is having a demand at risk, and how it can be mitigated or what can be done. So now Oracle Planning has a lot of built-in analytics. So once I open this, you'll be able to see one of those, and these are something that comes along as a part of the entire planning suite. So I'll just open this. So what you'll be able to see is basically each tile which represent a product, and you can identify how high or low the risk is based on the size of the tile or the color of the tile. And when I also hover over here, you'll be able to see the demand quantity which is at risk along with its value. So now this is just, you know, at a glance look at what major product categories or product of yours are having a demand at risk. Now the second question is what can be done to mitigate this, or what can be done to work on this demand at risk, and why it has what has caused this, what has resulted into this. So what I can do is I can just simply click over here and drill down to our demand fulfillment. This is also another built-in analysis that we have. So here it gives you all the demand or the quantities which are at risk, and then it can show you what recommendation it has provided. So basically what you can do about it. So here you can either, the recommendation that has been shown is basically to expedite your buy orders, that is from your procurement of your external supplier, or you can also expedite your transfer order, that is basically from another store of yours, okay, or any other organization internally. So you can see that the application also checks the available inventory of other stores and organization, and say for example some of your stores is not located in a in a much populated or heavily populated region, then the application also suggests you to transfer the essential material from there, since the stock is available in that store. So in this way, the enterprise-wide planning plays an important role, because it is able to see, analyze, and read and recommend based on everything that you have across all the organizations or across all the stores and regions. So now, as far as the external supplier procurement order is concerned, you can see by how many days you need to expedite the order. And here you can also see in the recommendation that you can accept it. Okay. Over here we have that option as well. Or you can also see the related exceptions with it. So by exceptions, I mean, this is just a way to know what can be done. As you can see, it's basically a recommendation. You can also see what a lot other exceptions are related to this specific product or product category. Okay, so what I can do is I can again drill down further from here to a list of exceptions. So I'll do that. I'll just go here and go to item exceptions. Now, along with the built-in analytics, Oracle Planning also comes up and also has a lot of different built-in exceptions available. So you can see there are a list of built-in exceptions which are available, and some of them are really, really useful. So like maybe the one which is currently open, the demand at risk due to insufficient lead time. Okay, so here you can see what all items are there which are currently at a risk because your supplier is not able to provide you that in the required lead time, and what can be done. So should you expedite it? Should you make it an urgent communication to your supplier, or you need to prepone some of your existing orders? So these are like some of the examples. Now in a situation like this, it is also possible that your supplier itself himself is also overloaded. So there are also exceptions for that. So like supplier capacity overload. And then so another example that I can take is basically maintaining enough storage space for your essential products is also very important when you want to meet customer demand. And this can be done by evaluating the spaces occupied by the essential and non-essential products. And this might require reduction or reducing the inventory of non-essentials and restructuring your inventory. So if we take an example of any non-essential product, there are also exceptions which are important and can help you identify what all items are there which are currently lying with excess inventory and has not been consumed in a specific time period in the past. So you can identify such items and product categories and make the required decision as to reduce the inventory of the same, and whether certain products need to be moved from the storage space so that you can optimize your storage space and utilize it to the fullest. But in this case, if I talk about this, it may also be possible that you already have orders placed with your suppliers for this non-essential product, as a part of maybe your monthly or quarterly replenishment. So in that case, planning also suggests and can recommend you to basically cancel certain orders or maybe postpone it as a part of this exceptions of orders to be rescheduled out. So some of these exceptions which I've just taken few examples of are really useful, and this is something that is used across in a lot of our different customers, because they are basically a very useful at a glance view at what all exceptions are there which are causing issues in your overall supply chain planning. Okay, I think yeah, so the question is that the watch list says 16, but the grid only shows 5. Yeah, so that's a good question. So 16 is basically the overall, all the exceptions which are there for this demand at risk due to insufficient lead time. But what I did was I basically drilled to this view from this view, right? So when we are drilling, what capability the system has is basically it takes the context of that item, and when I'm drilling from here to the item exception screen on analysis, it basically will show you exceptions related to that item. So even if the demand at risk due to insufficient lead time, that specific exception has a count of 16. So 16 is the overall count. However, out of those, only 5 are related to this particular item because I drilled from there. I hope that answers your question. So, yeah, okay, great. And similarly, we have other useful exceptions as well that can be really helpful in our day-to-day planning and make you and help you in better decision making. There are also other useful features as well, like maintaining safety stock or of product required products and product categories, defining supplier capacity and their capacity calendar, item substitution, for example, how sanitizing wipes can be substituted to meet the demand of hand sanitizer, which can further be used to optimize the entire solution. So these are all just, I'm just naming some of the features which are available out of the box. So now let us also talk about such products which are not essential. So what we saw, or what I tried to, show you as a part of demand at risk and exceptions is basically everything as a part of your demand which is at risk for your essential products. So that was a scenario that I was taking. Now, let us talk about such products which are not essential at this point of time, because they are something which can be postponed, right? But these are some of the products which are really interesting, because we might see a segment of consumers who have not been able to take advantage and enjoy these products and indulge in them, but they might, probably go back right now and say, okay, let us consume and just indulge in that particular product category. So some of them can be like, maybe beverages or packed food, as I cited previously. And similarly for skincare products also, this is something that will continue to have increased demand, right? Because we have seen, because of working from home, it has given people the opportunity to, pamper them and take good care of their health. So in this case, it becomes important that we are prepared beforehand for such products, because they are not something which are, seeing unplanned rise, but these are some product categories that can be planned in a better way beforehand. So in Oracle planning, statistical forecast can also be generated for the upcoming time period, and it can be adjusted to make sure that the supply planning is done accordingly after considering the forecasted demand. So this is one of also the features that is available, which is basically the generation of statistical forecast. I'll open one of our plans and I'll show you how it looks like. So basically, it is capable of reading the trend of its consumption, or how much it has been consumed in the past period, and then it is capable of generating a statistical forecast, which can then be read and viewed by all the planners, and can also be adjusted further, which will then be taken as the final demand forecast, and based on that, the supply planning will happen. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly open one such plan where I can open and show you the statistical forecast which is being generated. So I'm again going to leverage one of the analysis that Oracle Planning offers. So I'm basically opening one of the Tableau representation wherein I'll be able to show you the demand forecast generation. So let me try to okay, I by mistake opened the wrong one. Okay, let's open this. Okay, so what we see over here is basically the forecast which is generated by the system, okay, in the upcoming time period. And you can also see it is also capable of giving you some of the deviations like MAPE or bias as to how your forecast has been. So this forecast can be generated based on the actual shipment that has happened, or the bookings that has happened, or the actual consumption that has happened as a part of customer fulfillment, or internal organization fulfillment. So anything which is basically an issue for out, or an issue out of any of your product and product category. By analyzing the pattern of your past consumption, it is capable of generating the future forecast. So this is a very simple Tableau representation, and then also it also enables the planner to read this and also make adjustments if required, because the planner is basically the main person who actually knows how a product might behave, or is how a product is currently performing, and if they want to plan it in a better way, or if they want to adjust the quantities which has been generated as a part of statistical forecast. So in this adjustment row, it also gives you the planner possibility of adjusting this. Okay, and then this will become your base as your demand for certain items, like as I cited previously, which are non-essentials, or maybe like the skincare product, which will continue to see a demand going forward. So this is basically the Tableau format, and I can also just very quickly drill down and show you the graphical representation of this as well by using the drill down option, and you can directly very easily view the graphical representation of it as well. Okay. So here it is. So I think it's a good time for me to see if we have any questions. Nope. Okay. If you have any, please feel free to drop in the question and I'll take it while going through all these scenarios. So now when this becomes, a part of the demand, and as I previously cited, Oracle solution is capable of reading different data streams from different application, like, from procurement and from inventory and from other areas. And it is also capable of generating the supply recommendations, which basically then translates and creates a real-time transaction in procurement or in inventory, and based on the nature of the item that is. So let us also see how this recommendation look like. So previously I showed you one of the recommendation wherein it was asking you to expedite a transfer order or expedite a buy order. But the term that we basically use is a planned order. So basically it's an order which is not yet realized yet, but it is something that the application has recommended you. So I'll just quickly open. And you can see it's the view is such that we can have multiple plans, multiple tabs open, and then I can just hover very easily from one to another. So I'll just search for one item. Okay. So now over here, you can see it's also a simple tabular representation wherein it is considering, the transfer order, the on hand, the planned order, and everything. So now what I will try to show you is basically what is going to be your projected available balance, right? So what I'll do is I'll just go here and try to open another view. Okay, so I'll explain what this is. So planning is also, capable of showing you what your projected available balance is going to be in the future after considering multiple data streams, which includes your current on-hand stock, any demand, which can be basically a consumption demand or, forecast generated by the application, and also after considering different existing supplies. So your existing supplies can be already existing purchase orders or already existing purchase requisitions with your external supplier, or anything which is coming in as a part of already created purchase orders. So after analyzing all these data streams, your total demand and your total supply, the system can show you what is going to be your projected available balance in the future. Okay, and ideally this is something that will vary from product to product, right? So if there is if we are talking about an essential product, your projected available balance might currently in this scenario might always be low because it is something which is getting consumed a lot. Whereas in some of your non-essentials, your projected available balance might be a lot more because they are not being used. So ideally your projected available balance should be as close to as zeros, because you should not have a lot of stock for any particular item, or you should not have anything less as well. You should not run into material shortages. But again, it will differ from product category to product category. So the projected available balance is basically, a reflection of how much you will have going forward in the future time period after considering different multiple streams. And this is the view that I've opened, this tabular representation. I can also have this in different time buckets. So I can have this yearly, I can have this quarterly, I can have this monthly, and I can have this daily. So I have basically now opened it in monthly and daily view. So at any point of time, I can collapse and expand it. So I'm basically now collapsing it. and it'll give me for the upcoming time period, as you can see. And then I can expand it. Similar way, I can have more granular levels. So I can have, year, quarter, month, week, and day, and see exactly where do I stand in terms of the project available balance. And then we can also see a direct, graphical representation of it. So I can just go from here, and I can also see what my total demand and projected available balance is as a part of the monthly view. So you can see anywhere when I am, moving to the application, I'm just drilling down from one point to another, one analysis to another, by taking into the context of a particular item or taking into the context of a particular organization. So a very simple example of what your demand and projected available balance is, so that you can, weigh how your complete supply chain planning is currently going on. Okay, let us see if we have any questions. Okay. So these are some of the, features or some of the scenarios that I wanted to show you when we talk about dealing and working with supply chain planning for essential and for non-essential products. Now I would like to go back to my slide deck and talk about the entire supply chain planning suite. So what all things does it offer? So this is basically an overview of the Oracle Planning Cloud suite that we have, and it provides a complete comprehensive end-to-end planning solution, starting from demand management, using demand-driven replenishment, and diagnosing root causes which are impacting your supply chain and how your supply and demand can balance to meet your customer demand. So there are a lot of different applications which are a part of this suite. So like demand management is one of them. Of course, supply planning is there, and then we have sales and operation planning, using which we can have a more synchronized and collaborative planning being done at the entire enterprise level. And we also have supply chain collaboration, which is, a more enhanced way of also keeping your supplier involved and looped in your planning, so that your forecast can be shared to them and you have a better collaboration with them, and they can promise whether they'll be able to fulfill your demand going forward based on their capacity and their calendar and the issues that they are facing. So these are all the applications that makes the entire Oracle supply chain planning suite. Okay, so I think then we can move on to the one of the success stories that we have had recently. So I would like Andrew to take this up and explain you how we were able to help one of our customers who are also dealing with in the food and distribution retail sector. So Andrew, over to you.
Yep, no problem. So Evasis Market are an American-based retail company. Operate, as it says there, 60 plus stores across mid parts of America. So the main challenge they had was the sheer volume of the SKUs that they had to manage, and the logistics behind shipping stuff out to 60 stores, and the supply demand type of approach they had. So previous to this, they had a disconnected system which had multiple threads to it. It wasn't connected. They weren't operating in an intelligent and a smart way. And we're struggling with items around stock management, distribution, date management, and the usual things that you kind of see in this type of scenario. So they decided they needed to do something a little bit better about that. They wanted to get some agility back into their business and really get to the point where they could use the systems they had to effectively support the business, to start to drill into the logistics side a little bit, to start to do more intelligent things with their stock management system, and recognize that that would have an impact on the bottom line of the business, because the better they could manage stock, the better they could manage warehouse supplies, and the more efficient they could be, and the greater revenue they could deliver out to their shareholders. So they did a market test, and they went out for tender to look at these sorts of systems. And well, as it says there, they decided that Oracle SCM Cloud was going to provide them with what they needed in terms of the right solution that was the right fit for their business as they moved forward. With a view that obviously they wanted to expand, they wanted to improve their stock allocation, and they wanted to improve their customer experience by making sure they could be a little bit more agile and having the right stock in the right place at the right time, but also a platform that they could build upon, and they could start to add in, a bit more intelligence behind, and they could expand as they started to be more successful in this area. So it was a project that lasted around 12 months. Together with Evasis, we sat down and we did their what we call conference roundtables. So we had a conversation, we did the planning with them about what it is they wanted to achieve, and we agreed those set of metrics between the two businesses to make sure that the project was going to be mutually successful on both sides, to make sure that we understood their business and we understood the KPIs that needed to be achieved in order for the project to be deemed a success. So the results was kind of, we've got on screen here, but I will briefly talk through. So when they got to the end of this, what they classified as success was delivery of those KPIs that we discussed at the beginning of the project. So all through that, the decisions that you make as part of the project are based around a clear set of objectives that you want to achieve at the end. And there are lots and lots of decisions you have to make through a project like this. So it's really important that your partner works with you to plan these out at the start, so you have a basis for making these decisions to make sure that you hit the original KPIs. So improve visibility over cost. You can see where stock is, where it's being shipped to, where it needs to be. The ability to do this analytical work now around better pricing strategies, being able to work with your suppliers, see where the supply and demand is, how long things are sat in your warehouse for, what the retail demand and what the consumer demand is. And actually, when you start to use this and you start to put into place the mobile solutions around warehouses and that type of stuff, the user satisfaction starts to increase across the business, because things become visible that perhaps weren't visible before. So you can start moving into a world of live dashboards. You can start moving into a world of database decisions. And obviously a single structure of item master means that you can actually see across your business in terms of stock and control. So all in all, very successful project for both Evasis and for Oracle and for Grocers as a retail partner. And we look forward to expanding that project in years to come by adding in some of those newer technology pieces and adding in some of those AI and machine learning components, which will drive more productivity and further improvements into their solution. Okay. Can we move to the next slide?
Yeah, sure. So I would also now like to take this opportunity and talk about some of the custom extensions and solutions. So Evosys has also been involved in developing some in-house custom extensions and solutions, some of which are listed over here. But I would like to briefly talk about Evo Mobile Supply Chain Solution, which is named as Warehouse 360. So Warehouse 360 is a best-of-breed mobility system developed by Grocers. It is an Android-based mobile solution which can be used like a very easy plug and play, and it is completely integrated with all the modules and all the applications of Oracle ERP, and it is compatible with different industries like healthcare, manufacturing, retail, distribution, maintenance. And Warehouse 360 is also something which is very regularly updated with all the latest releases of Oracle. So because even in Oracle, because as I said, it's very easy plug and play, and it's integrated with all different applications of Oracle. So now Oracle also releases new features and new upgrades timely, right, to introduce new features and new solutions. And along with that, because Warehouse 360 also needs to be updated along with it. So this is also something that is updated at all regular intervals. And yeah, so this is one of the custom solutions. So what we have done is we have basically put in some of the screenshots over here to just give you all a little bit of the feel of how the application looks like, in a mobile handset device. And it is capable of doing all the inventory transactions. So it is capable of doing any inbound or any outbound. So currently what we are seeing on the screen is basically an inbound transaction. So we can receive items by any external supplier or anything from internally from any other warehouse, and then we can put it away later and finish the delivery. And these transactions can be directly performed by scanning the items, because especially during this type of pandemic where people need to work at a distance, this can be really helpful because we're directly scanning this, and using this application, mobile application, we are doing all the inventory transactions. And then similar to what I said, these are basically the inbound ones. And then similar to this, we also have the outbound ones like the pick confirm or the ship confirm. It can be to particular distributor of yours, your end customers, or even to your internal organizations, anything that is coming in, anything which is coming out. Warehouse 360 is also, as I can say, sub-inventory transfer or internal material transfer, which is basically a internal location transfer between your organization. This is also a part of it. And then Warehouse 360 is also capable or includes the part count, which has been developed, based on by cultivating and by collecting different customer feedback. And this is something that has also been incorporated as a part of the Warehouse 360 mobile solution. Another very nice feature, important feature that it offers is that you can completely work offline with this, so that you can still perform all the transactions that I just cited offline, and once you're online, the transactions get synced back as soon as you're back online. So yeah, it's very easy. It's very easy to scan and perform all the inventory transactions that you can think of. And yeah, even if you're offline, you can have it, and it is regularly updated so that you don't fall behind as to what is available there as a part of Oracle update. And yeah, if there are any bugs or any new releases that needs to be worked upon, these are also something that is regularly updated in Warehouse 360. So yeah, these are some of the glimpses of Warehouse 360, and I think now we can open the forum for any questions that we have from any of our attendees.
Okay, obviously we've kind of come to the end of the stuff we wanted to talk about, so it's kind of open floor for the last few minutes for question and answers. If anybody's got any, feel free to type them in, or we can unmute you and you can ask us directly. We'll wait a couple of minutes and give people a chance to type away. If nothing comes in the next couple of minutes, then we will close and we will give everyone a few minutes back before their next Zoom call to wander off and go make a cup of tea or whatever it is you need to do before your next one. So if you do have a question, please type them in and we'll sit around for a couple of minutes and give you a chance to do that.
I think Andrew, we have a question.
Do you have any plans to broaden the solution in the direction of manufacturing? Yes, I think it is a simple question to that. We do have some manufacturing components that are available from Evasis already, and I don't see any reason why it wouldn't work in a manufacturing situation. V2, got anything to add to that?
No, so basically manufacturing, whether it is discrete manufacturing or process manufacturing, Oracle is very much up to date with it. And so even in case of if the question is, so I'll answer the question in two ways for Warehouse 360 as well as the planning solution. So Warehouse 360 is also something that we are going and trying to incorporate the manufacturing part of it. It's still in our roadmap. Whereas if I have to talk for the planning solution that we just showed, it is completely integrated with manufacturing. So anything that is currently being manufactured, the demand coming out of the production, out of the manufacturing is also taken in as a demand, and what needs to be available in the right time in the production or location also is catered to. It also takes care of your resource constraints, what resource requirements are there to completely fulfill it. So anything that you can think of which is required as a part of your production planning or manufacturing planning is already there as a part of Oracle Supply Chain Suite.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, I think, Andrew, we have another one on the question.
Can you tell us something about turnover of the customers? To what range is the Oracle Cloud a suitable solution? So, I mean, from an Evasis perspective, our customers who operate in this area go up into the sort of tens, if not the hundreds of millions of pounds worth of turnover. I know the Oracle direct accounts deal with very, very large supply chains and very, very large retail businesses. So I'm not aware of any limitations in terms of the size of the customer for an Oracle Cloud solution. They support some of the largest retailers across Europe and some with global footprints. So I have no concerns about the scalability of it. Ritu, got anything to add to that?
No, I think you answered it perfectly, Andrew, I think.
Okay. I mean, we're quite happy to provide you with detailed response to that question, if you like, in terms of the Evosys customer case studies. And equally, I'm happy to ask the Oracle account managers for you to provide you with details of in-region customers and their size and scale. If you want to follow up with us afterwards, by all means, drop us a line or respond to the feedback email and tell us what sort of size you're looking for, and we'll happily route you in the right direction. I think that's it for questions. I don't see any others coming in. Nobody's asking specifically to talk to us directly, which is unfortunate. But I think that about wraps it up. So I'd like to thank everyone for spending an hour with us this morning. Thanks for investing some time with us. I appreciate there's a lot of these webinars and a lot of these things happening at the moment, and you've chosen to spare some time to listen to us talk. So we do appreciate that. Thank you very much. And thanks to my colleague Ritu for taking us through stuff that she's done this morning. So I wish everyone a pleasant rest of the day and the rest of the week. Please do provide feedback when you get the questionnaire from us. And if there's any questions subsequent to this, then by all means, send it through and we will come back to answer you. Ritu, anything else you want to add?
No, I think you've said it correctly, Andrew. I think that's all. I wish you all a very good rest of the day, the rest of the week.
Brilliant. Right. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.